Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. And yeah, you may have noticed something a little bit different with the intro. There was actually some entrance music right there. Very, you gotta spice it up every now and then. You just gotta, you gotta find some newfound confidence in yourself to say, hey, you know what? We're gonna put some theme music over this show now. Um, this is episode number 9 of the Checkers and Wreckers podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is a one-man show. I am your host, Carter Leonard, as always, and this is episode number nueve. If anyone knows what that number is, that is number 9 in Spanish, and yeah, it is the 9th episode of the first season of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. So let's just deep dive right into it. This past weekend, NASCAR took its yearly tour and trip to Austin, Texas, to Circuit of the Americas, where the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series all battled at the over 3 mile road course. And personally, COTA has become one of my favorite road courses and favorite tracks on the schedule. Since its debut in 2021, I understand like a lot of people didn't really like it at first because it was a rain shortened race and it was kind of sloppy. But then I was like, no, give it time, and we'll see what happens. But it turned out to be just quite fine, and so let's get into the quick weekend recap. The Trucks had their first road course date of the year, and it was won by none other than Zane Smith. Obviously, it was no surprise. Zane Smith has won here the previous year, and actually, Front Row Motorsports actually has won the last 3 Truck Series races at COTA. So if you're going to pick a team that's actually going to win at that track, Front Row Motorsports is definitely the team that you want to go for. And this past Saturday was no different. Zane Smith picks up his second win of the year. Kind of a very similar start to the year that he had last year. He won at Daytona, and his second win came at Circuit of the Americas. So, very solid start for the year for Zane Smith, who is probably going to be in the Cup Series next year. We don't know what his future plans are, but it was, a Zane Smith-like day. There was a few, things here and there, but other than that, it was a normal truck race on the road course. The Xfinity Series race also took place later that day, and while I say that the truck race actually had its pretty decent moments, the Xfinity Series was kind of that dull AJ Allmendinger style race. Yes, AJ Allmendinger was in the race, and he ended up winning. Shocker, right? Nothing against AJ himself, but let's be real. AJ Allmendinger in an Xfinity car on the road course. 9 times out of 10, we could pretty much expect the first result that comes into our mind. Like, solid road racer, very, very talented on the road courses, but can't say that we didn't see it coming. And I did get that pick right, so easy money. I didn't brag about it like in my Austin Hill videos for anybody who follows our social media. I'm a big Austin Hill guy when he wins at, tracks, especially super speedways, and I call it each and every time. So, I mean, yeah, enough of the bragging, But anyways, that wraps up Trucks and Xfinity. Now let's get down to the main event, which was the Echo Park Automotive Texas Grand Prix, or whatever it's called. It's Echo Park something Grand Prix or whatever. Once again, another solid road course race. Now, this was the first NASCAR race in a while where stage cautions were non-existent. The stages still existed, the points still existed, but the cautions right after the stages, well, they were non-existent, and this was the first race to do so in a while. I'll admit, it was kind of weird seeing it because I have seen stage racing since its inception, since 2017, and quite frankly, it was kind of weird not seeing the caution come out because I was actually waiting for it. And I'm like, oh wait, we're still racing. We got to keep going. So yeah, the last time races went without stages and caution free was 2016, where it was just green flag and fight till the bitter end. No breaks, no nothing. It was just go all the way. So yeah, it was kind of weird but kind of cool to see it. It made me feel nostalgic because stage racing has definitely become the new norm, and it begs the question if stage racing in of itself, well, not stage racing, but stage caution should be abolished at every single racetrack. And in my opinion, I definitely agree. I do think that it is unnecessary to throw unnecessary cautions and just for the sake of it to bunch the field up. Like I get it, you're trying to bunch the field up, and sometimes on road courses it does get strung out. The leader may get out to like maybe a 4 to 5 second lead over second place, but it's better than throwing up a random break just to say, oh, we just want to bunch the field. But I think the stage, like if you want to keep the stages, if you want to keep the points, that is completely fine. But I just don't see why we got to throw unnecessary cautions every single time. Like that just, I've not liked that since day one, and quite frankly, I will never really like it. So, but yeah, that's up to the sanctioning body to decide. And but anyways, back to the race recap. Tyler Reddick wins his fourth career win, and his first with 2311 Racing. So far, drivers and new homes, Tyler Reddick with 2311 Racing and Kyle Busch with Richard Childress Racing, both those drivers, they have a win throughout the first 6 races of the year. So far, both of those guys, both Kyle Busch and Tyler Reddick, have found newfound success in their new homes, which, in my opinion, we really shouldn't be surprised because we both know how good these drivers are. So it's not really surprising to see them elevate their new teams because we all know it was going to happen eventually. And it did happen. Kyle Busch winning that Fontana and Tyler Reddick winning this past weekend at Austin, Texas. So we all knew it was going to happen. So congrats to Tyler Reddick and the 45 team. I was watching the Fox broadcast, and it was really emotional to see Kurt Busch get choked up on the final lap, watching his former ride. My phone just buzzed as this episode goes on, but it was pretty emotional to see Kurt Busch watch his former ride go off in the victory lane, and he said it best. He said the 45 car is in good hands, and with Tyler Reddick, I think you could really say that the ride is definitely in good hands. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be. And quite frankly, Tyler Reddick is one of the most raw, talented drivers out there. We knew that he was going to be a good fit going into this team, and so far he is. So far, the 45 team didn't really have the start to the season that they initially wanted because, well, there was a point where Tyler Reddick was below Travis Pastrana in the point standings, but luckily the 45 team with Tyler Reddick, Billy Scott, and the whole Monster Energy crew said that was just a fluke, and they got right back on track. I didn't really panic to start out the season for Tyler Reddick because, first of all, it was 2 races into the year. It's not time to push the panic button yet. Was it a little weird seeing him that low? Yeah, it was. I mean, you definitely don't want that kind of start to the season, but I never lost faith in the 45 team, and Tyler Reddick proved that was just a fluke, and as of right now, he is currently locked into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. So, yeah, Tyler Reddick gets the win, first win with Toyota and 2311 Racing. Hopefully it's the first of many. So, good job, Tyler Reddick, and your first win, and your first win of the season. All right, and that is the weekend recap of Circuit of the Americas. Another solid weekend of road course racing. Nothing too out of the ordinary. It's Circuit of the Americas. You're basically you're gonna expect what you're gonna get. So pretty solid weekend, if I do say so myself. Pretty solid racing. We did have a lot of F1 guys in the Cup Series. We had both Jenson Button and Kimi Räikkönen. That was pretty cool to see. And Jenson Button, shout out to him, gets a top 20 in his first ever Cup Series start, finishing 18th for your first Cup race with hardly any experience in this car, little to none experience, I should say. Not bad at all. Really, really not bad at all. So good job for him. Kimi Räikkönen, he actually popped into the top 10 at one point. I don't remember where he actually finished. I want to say he did finish in the top 20, but I'm not sure. I would have to go look at that later and double check. But yeah, very cool to see both of those former F1 world champions to go at it in the Cup Series, and as well as Jordan Taylor too. He really surprised me this weekend. And I know that he has the IMSA background. He has a lot of road racing experience. I'm like, okay, well, he's gonna hop into a NASCAR Cup car. Let's see what he's gonna do. And from practice and qualifying, that guy actually really grabbed my attention. Now, I didn't think that he was going to win the race, but I mean, the fact that he did that well in Chase Elliott's car, which the number 9 car is a very, very solid ride, and the fact that he just straight up qualified well, practiced well, is just surprising to me with absolutely little to none experience. As well, the same goes for Jenson Button as well. But, Jordan Taylor, round of applause, man. Really big round of applause. I can't say, that I'm not shocked. I am definitely shocked to see that he did. Well, I don't know where he finished as well. I would have to look it up. If you guys could just give me a second, it would be amazing. Please and thank you. He did finish 24th, but I don't really think that should replicate how good of a weekend that he truly had. I mean, he was definitely serviceable, and but as of right now, we don't know who will drive the 9 for Richmond this weekend. But yeah. So again, that is pretty much the recap of the weekend at Circuit of the Americas. So yeah, but we do have a lot of to talk about this week, and let's talk about something that's kind of been going on, and it actually went on through the race, and a lot of drivers, including guys like Jenson Button and a lot of Cup drivers, saw during the race. And that is there a lack of respect in the NASCAR garage? Now, I'm going to be very, very detailed with this segment. This is probably going to be the longest segment of this entire show. So, you better best be prepared for this, because I'm not fooling around with this. Now, turn 1 at COTA. Very wide turn, a lot of room, a lot of opportunity, a good passing zone. But if you don't do it right, it's going to lead to very, very big consequences, mainly shoving people out of the way, turning people, causing a pileup of some sort in that corner. Turn 1 at COTA is the widest part, I think the widest part in the entire track. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong on that, but that's where a lot of people really got upset. Mainly drivers and, mainly fans, because there were some guys like Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, and a lot of other aggressive drivers that would just completely throw it into turn 1, go up the hill, throw it in there like there is no tomorrow, and completely door slam guys. Now, I understand that there is going to be a little bit rubbing in that turn, but there has to be a fine line drawn where it's okay, but at the same time, you just have to draw a line. Just say, okay, no, don't do that, please. Just don't. Just don't. What are you doing, dude? And Ross Chastain was the lead candidate. There was a point where Ross Chastain actually spun in that same corner, and he made his way back up through fifth. Gee, I wonder why. By the way, no, I am not picking on Ross Chastain, but it is the truth. Ross Chastain, a very, very aggressive driver at this track. And we've seen what he's done here before. Some of it is perfectly validated, some of it is just completely unnecessary, and this is no different. But I don't really. But going back to lack of respect in the garage, so far we have seen a bit of feuds in the garage. The first one being Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain at Phoenix. Obviously, Denny Hamlin got docked of points, had a fine, and he admitted it. He admitted that he intentionally wrecked Ross on purpose. And a week later, Kyle Busch said it best. He said, "Keep your mouth shut," and that's plain and simple. Like literally. There are some drivers that will keep their mouth shut about intentional wrecks, or there's Denny Hamlin where he will basically handcuff himself to NASCAR. But anyways, this ain't about Denny Hamlin right now. This is about a lot of drivers. Racing etiquette in any motorsport is definitely a must-have and is definitely important. We know this. This has been known for the longest time, longer than I've been alive, right? However, what I saw on Sunday was nothing more than guys not giving each other respect. I understand. It's overtime restarts. By the way, I'm going to get into overtime restarts here in a minute, so don't worry about that. But it's overtime restarts. Everything's on the line. You're trying to gain as much spots as you can. You're trying to peek your nose through a hole that can't fit. You're trying to gain as much spots as you can, gain as much points as you can, and call it a day. And while I can't necessarily blame the drivers for being aggressive, because, I mean, who wouldn't be aggressive at the end of the race? But at the same time, there's a fine line between either dumping someone or dumping yourself. Just going to throw that out there. The lack of respect in the Cup Series as of right now is truly... I can't even wrap my head around what needs to be done. I've seen a lot of people comment, Twitter posts. Yeah, reading Twitter posts, not the brightest idea I've ever had in the world. I've seen a lot of people on social media saying, oh, NASCAR should start policing this, policing that. While I do think that is a very good possible idea, it kind of strains away from what NASCAR was built up of. God, I cannot talk. I'm sorry, guys. NASCAR was always built off of, boys have at it, go at it yourself, this, and that. And there's been times where that, whole ideology has been flawed, ignored, or just straight up abused. I'm not admitting that. I'm not disagreeing with that whole statement. But what I have a problem is that when you straight up do it for no reason, like hell, even in the truck series, Haley Deegan, battling for fifth with Caden Honeycutt, she just didn't even give him room, just straight up dumped him. What the hell, dude? First of all, you are going to get valuable stage points at the end of that stage. I don't see the point in trying to wreck someone like that. Dude, come on. But this is the Cup Series we're talking about. Jordan Taylor and Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen, they all pointed it out that this is compared to F1 and IMSA, this is a whole new ball game. If I could compare Formula One or IMSA to like different like to different like sports. I would say like they're like the golf. They're the calm, they're the gentle, and they're, they're the relaxing. There may be some intense moments here and there, but at the same time, it's not some crazy F fest. NASCAR, on the other hand, very, very different. If I could compare NASCAR to one sport, it's football. Wild, crazy, but also very exciting. And it's what puts asses in seats. So I know a lot of people are gonna argue with that ideology. Well, some seats are empty, whatever. But you kind of get the idea of what I'm saying. It's. But at the same time, there comes a point to where, that boys have at it idea, goes a little too far. Like you don't need to straight up throw yourself in there and turn one on every single restart. You have to work your way up. But for some people, they just don't realize that. So what do I think needs to be done about racing etiquette? I can't actually say. I don't have a solution for that. Like literally I could look at multiple things in NASCAR and say, okay, this needs to be fixed. Okay, this is a good idea, but I think it could use a little bit of tweaking to it. But, I think it could work out. This, on the other hand, is completely up to the drivers. I cannot make a decision for them. I am just another fan doing this podcast and watching from home. So, we will see how racing etiquette goes along this year. But, so far it's not been a good start to the year because of that. It all started at Phoenix, and it's basically gone downhill ever since. There's a lack of respect in the garage. I wholeheartedly believe that, but I don't think it's definitely as big of a deal as people dramatize it to be. So let's just leave that out. All right, and another thing I want to talk about, but I'm not going to be too long with this, is overtime restarts. The ending of the Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas, I'm sorry, it felt like an eternity. Like, it felt like every single restart, okay, just Reddick, please get back to the white flag so the next flag can end the race, whatever. Now, as a NASCAR fan, I will admit, I've never personally have seen the race. Actually, no, I have seen the race end under caution before. The 2017 Quaker State 400, I was actually at that race when Kentucky was still around. I don't really have a lot to complain about, but I understand why some fans, or a majority of fans, don't like the race ending under caution. And I can't blame them. People want to see a green flag finish. They want to see an exciting finish. They want to see it come down to the line. They don't want to see drivers pacing around the pace car to take the checker flag. I understand. It's not the most exciting thing that you could see in the world. But, in my opinion, and I've been kind of saying this for a while now, the overtime restarts need to change. The rules of the overtime. See, I've been advocating for a while that overtime restarts should just be a one and done attempt. No more, not this three green white checker finishes, none of that stuff. Back then, it used to be 3 attempts. Now, it's unlimited attempts. So we will keep going for as long as we have to. In my opinion, I don't like that because after a while, you're going to start wondering, when is the race going to end? Like, the race is already past its scheduled distance time. Like, you got other things to do. Like, well, maybe not on a Sunday afternoon, but, like, you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, you want the race to be over. And I'm sure for many, and I mean many, Tyler Reddick fans on Sunday, you were just like, oh my God, just let us get the win, please, please, I swear to God, please just let us get the win. And I feel you, I know what that's like. But, it's NASCAR's rules. Now, I think overtime restarts should be changed. If you want to keep overtime, only do one attempt on the restart. I can't wait till people go into the comments and say, "Oh, Carter, you want the race to end under caution?" No, I don't. Listen, I don't want the race to end under caution just as much as the next person. But I don't want to see a a drawn out slugfest at the end of the race where it's already past the scheduled time. People are wondering, "Oh my God, is this ever gonna end?" Because after every single restart, it gets repetitive. Oh, green flag. Oh, what's gonna happen? Yep, NASCAR throws the caution. Who could have seen that one coming? I damn sure didn't. Like, listen, you want to keep overtime, that's fine, but in my opinion, you should really advocate for. I've been advocating that it should only be one attempt, a one and done. As soon as the green flag hits, the next flag ends the race. Make your controversial statements down below. I literally could care less. That is my opinion only. And yeah, in my opinion, I think overtime restart rules should be changed. So that's really all I got to say about that. About the whole thing in of itself, the lack of respect, and the overtime restarts. Alright, so now let's get into some other news, and this actually happened yesterday afternoon. Hendrick Motorsports won the appeal. Well, kind of. So, back at Phoenix, I'm sure every NASCAR fan, or at least majority of NASCAR fans, heard about what happened to Hendrick Motorsports at Phoenix Raceway a little over 2 weeks ago. All 8 hood louvers of every single Hendrick Motorsports car was removed before the cars could actually get out on the track. This was before any competition, before any practice, qualifying, or even a race itself even happened. NASCAR did not like that, issued an L2 penalty, and it docked drivers out of a lot of points and suspended crew chiefs for 4 races. Each of Hendrick Motorsports' 4 crew chiefs were all suspended. But now, yesterday afternoon, it was announced that Hendrick Motorsports won the appeal. So, all 4 Hendrick Motorsports cars get their points back. So, Alex Bowman, as of right now, is currently the NASCAR Cup Series points leader, along with William Byron in third and not Chase Elliott, I'm sorry, Kyle Larson 12th in points. I want to say that I am shocked, but at the same time, I kind of had a feeling in the back of my mind thinking, oh, they're probably going to win the appeal. They're probably going to win this somehow. So, if the board of directors think that taking the appeal and giving them their points back, if you think that's such a good idea, okay, NASCAR, then I expect the same to be done to Kaulig Racing next week, because Kaulig Racing was one of those teams that got penalized. Trent Owens, who was Justin Haley's crew chief, also got suspended, and they actually took one hood louver off of Justin Haley's car, and that's how he got suspended. So, if you're going to give Hendrick Motorsports back their points, which next week Kaulig Racing will be able to appeal for their penalty as well, if you give Hendrick Motorsports back their points, which obviously was a way bigger penalty, if you give them their points back, I fully expect that you give Kaulig Racing and Justin Haley back his points. Like, that's just how the consistency is going to work. Like, and you guys can't tell me otherwise. Like, it's shocking to me how I wouldn't say it's shocking, but so I technically said that they kind of won the appeal. The major win was that all four cars got their points back and back in their respective spots. However, all four crew chiefs, that being Cliff Daniels, Blake Harris, Al Gustafson, and Rudy Fugel, are still serving their 4-race suspension and won't be back until the 9th race, I believe, at Martinsville, if I am correct. So they are still on that 4-race suspension. It's pretty cut and dry, if you ask me. Now, one interesting quote that I saw the other day was from an article, right? And it was an article stating that the board of directors actually agreed that Hendrick Motorsports broke the rules, but decided to give them their points back. Okay, and a lot of people were in an uproar. Yes, social media in an uproar. In other news, water is wet and the sky is blue. I don't think they were in an uproar because of Hendrick Motorsports winning their points back. They were in an uproar simply because of the fact that that was a very, 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 very bad choice of words. What sports league or what sports board of directors says something like, yeah, we agree that you may have broken a rule or two, but we're gonna give you your points back. How many times do you really? 9 times out of 10. How often do you hear that? Yeah, only once. And this was the one. And Hendrick Motorsports winning the appeal, going back to them for a second, is obviously huge for them. Alex Bowman's really impressed me so far this year with him and Blake Harris. They have had really consistent speed. As something drops from my desk, please ignore that. But if you ask me, I think that Hendrick Motorsports, we kind of expected them to appeal because they have valid reasons to do it, but we didn't know how far it would actually take them. And, well, it got them all the way. Kind of, because, well, the crew chiefs are still on suspension. So, let's just say they won 85 to 90% of the appeal. But, hey, you could take what you get. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I think about the whole Hendrick Motorsports appeal thing. Now, let's get into some other breaking news topics. This is the rapid fire section of the show. Let's get into some breaking news that is happening right now. Daniel Suarez yesterday, driver the number 99 for Trackhouse Racing, has been fined $50,000 after his little tangle with Alex Bowman on pit road at the end of the race. Now, for anybody who saw Daniel Suarez's onboard footage, he bumped not only his teammate on the pit road, but also the 48 of Alex Bowman. Now, an official actually saw the bump to Alex Bowman take place. Now, you can't do that on pit road. That is literally an illegal rule. You can't be doing that on pit road. And it's pretty simple if you ask me. Now, going back to the lack of respect. Daniel, what are you thinking, my boy? And trust me, I like Daniel Suarez. I think he's a really cool dude, but you just can't be doing that. And the official punishment or statement reads as this. The sections cited in the NASCAR rulebook were 4.4 B&D NASCAR member conduct, contact with another vehicle on pit road after the race. Yep, and that was the official word from NASCAR themselves. It was pretty obvious that NASCAR was going to talk to Daniel Suarez after this. I mean, it was clearly intentional. I mean, we saw it was coming. We saw, the mishap of it, and it was pretty unnecessary. Now, I don't know what actually transpired for this to make Daniel Suarez do that, but it was pretty dumb, to say the least. Now, also, this was not the most breaking news, but it was announced that Justin Marks has made an official statement on the future of Project 91, and he said that the Project 91 car will be on a new track, will be on track again this season, and he has already signed the new driver who is coming to race. Now, we don't know what date that will be. We don't know what track that will be. We don't know who the driver will be, but it sounds pretty big. Now, for people who have been on Twitter today, there was someone who, aka Mr. Smartass, who posted and saying, "Oh, Carl Edwards is gonna drive the Project 91 car." Listen, I like Carl Edwards as much as the next person, but that dude is long gone. Carl Edwards is not returning to NASCAR anytime soon, no matter how much you convince me, how much you say it, how much you plead to the world. It's just simply not going to happen. And I don't get why a lot of people... See, this is what I don't get with a lot of people when they say, when a team or a possible new driver coming in for a part-time race, a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, it's Carl Edwards, it's Carl Edwards, it's Carl Edwards, it's Carl Edwards." Like as much as I would like for that to happen, I'm not opposed to it happening, but Carl Edwards, he doesn't have any desire to return to NASCAR, or at least not one that I know of, or something like that. So, yeah, but going back to the actual news, Project 91 will not be a one-and-done deal like last year. You will see it on track. Maybe it's another road course. Maybe it's an oval for once. Who knows? Maybe it's a short track or intermediate. Who knows? You would like to see it on an oval. I don't want it to be just a road course car, but, to each their own, I guess. Nothing to complain about. But yeah, that is the rapid fire news. Not a lot to talk about in that section. It was pretty simple. Not a whole lot to talk about this week. It's just another news week. Yeah, it was just nothing really too exciting. All right, so just love it when my phone dings, don't you know? Yeah, so we're at the 38-minute and 12 mark, and it is... Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, let's cut to a quick intermission. Alright, well, it's official, ladies and gentlemen. I need soundproof filming for my room. Please pay no attention to the conversations in the background. People just love to be loud for no reason, so hopefully that will end in the distant future. So, yeah, going into this race weekend, God, it's almost... Today is Thursday. It's almost already race weekend already. Yeah. This week has flown by really fast. It felt like yesterday. It felt just like yesterday that Tyler Reddick was getting the win, and now all of a sudden we're getting ready to go Richmond. Time flies, man. Time really, really flies. But this weekend, the NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series head to Richmond Raceway for their events for the spring. The action track, as they call it, or... I wouldn't call it the action track. I mean, I would definitely call it the Richmond Raceway. I mean, Richmond, not the best short track, but I don't definitely think that it's the worst. I don't think it's the worst track on the NASCAR schedule, but compared to other short tracks that NASCAR has been to, it's not really the biggest fan favorite. It's still kind of blotchy in the stands. It's still trying to sell out tickets and stuff like that, trying to get people in seats, but the racing product there has not been not been the best. It's to say the least. But hopefully with the new aerodynamic package, because yes, it is the wet weather package, or the new 2-inch rear spoiler, updated diffuser, hopefully it makes the racing better. Not much of a snooze fest like last year's race, and we'll see where it goes from there. Um, Phoenix, it was the first test of that package. Not really a whole lot of difference. I'm glad that they did take the windshield wiper off, because that actually created some downforce. And people are like, well, it's a windshield wiper. How could it create a lot of downforce? I don't think many people realize how aerosensitive NASCAR stock cars truly are. So, yeah, that's why that happened, because the cars are aerosensitive. So, yeah. But going back to Richmond real quick, simple little short track, this, and that, was originally a very small oval. Now it got transformed into this, like, little, I don't even know what to call those types of ovals, it's, really, it's a really unique shape. It's like a quad oval kind of. Well, not necessarily a quad oval, but you kind of get what I'm saying. It's an oval. It's definitely an oval shape. All right, but the Truck Series is actually running this weekend as well. However, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is not at Richmond. They are at Texas Motor Speedway. When the schedules first came out, and I knew that the Xfinity and Cup were going to be at Richmond the same exact weekend. What I wasn't expecting was the fact that the Truck Series was going to be at Texas the same exact weekend. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it's not the first time that one series has been in the opposite and two others are in completely different spots. Last year, the Atlanta summer races, both Xfinity and Cup were at Atlanta. The Truck Series race was at Mid-Ohio. So this is nothing new, but it is very unique to see that. So we're gonna have a lot of action-packed. We're gonna have a very action-packed weekend this upcoming week. Really looking forward to it. Short track racing with a little bit of a trashy mile-and-a-half track. Yeah, I am a Texas Motor Speedway hater. Yeah, a lot of people can really agree on that, or say I'm based about that. So, yeah. But let's get down to the nitty gritty of this weekend, and let's make our picks. We're at the 43-minute mark of the show. Not a really long episode this week, obviously. I basically covered every single thing. And one thing about this podcast is that I do want to make long episodes about it. Don't get me wrong. I do want to make hour videos about it. But at the same time, if there's not really a whole lot worth noting of the episode, then I'm not going to make it very, very long. I'm not going to do that, because it's just kind of drawing it out. You're just adding filler to it, and that's not really what I want to do. I've done that before with this series, and I gotta say, I am not proud of it. So, yeah, there's my stance on that. And oh, by the way, shout out to all you guys who viewed the end of Camaro video. That has quickly become the most viewed video in the channel's history so far. Originally, it was the first episode of the podcast, which was 38 views. Yeah, the newest video blew it out of the water, and it's fair to say that a lot of people like other content besides this podcast. I'm gonna keep the podcast going, but it was very interesting to see that a little random video that didn't even take up 10 minutes was kind of a big deal. So yeah. Alright, so let's get down to the picks. So I'm actually going to go in race order. So I'm going to do Xfinity first, because that is the first event of this weekend. So the Toyota Care 250 at Richmond Raceway. It is the seventh race of the NASCAR Xfinity Series season. Um, I thought I didn't really think a whole lot hard about this pick. I thought it was a pretty simple pick, but he's won here in the Truck Series before, and he's a pretty solid short track driver. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick John Hunter Nemechek to win the Xfinity Series race this weekend. I think he's due for another win in the Xfinity Series, even though he won at Fontana. But yeah, I think John Hunter Nemechek is going to get the win here in the Xfinity Series this weekend. All right, and now we go from Virginia all the way to Texas. It is the SpeedyCash.com 220 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. It is their fifth race of the year. I wanted to now initially my pick was going to be Zane Smith. However, I did not pick him. I am actually going to go with an underdog here. So far, this guy has actually really qualified well and has actually got a pair of top 10 finishes the past 2 weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, a first-time winner alert. I think Nick Sanchez will win the Truck Series race at Texas. He's actually a really solid mile-and-a-half racer, and I can almost guarantee that he will qualify really, really well. It would be a shocker if he didn't, but so far Nick Sanchez has actually really impressed me in the Truck Series. He's getting better. It seems he's getting better each and every week. So, yeah, I think this is where Nick Sanchez is going to prove to the world that he is one of the next big things in NASCAR, and Nick Sanchez will be a Craftsman Truck Series winner, and it will probably cement himself as Rookie of the Year. Even though I'm a big Rajah Caruth fan and I want him to win Rookie of the Year, it's probably not going to happen, and Nick Sanchez will probably walk away with it. So Nick Sanchez will be your Texas winner. All right, so Richmond. It is the Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond Raceway, the seventh race of the NASCAR Cup Series season. Now, you would think when it comes to Richmond that there's one guy that comes to mind, and he's a kind of a hometown hero. It's a bit of a hometown track for him, and you would obviously think that, oh, well, Carter's definitely going to go for Denny Hamlin. He's definitely going to go, he's definitely going to pick the obvious and hope that Denny Hamlin will win. And you would be correct. However, you got to change it up. You got to make it spicy. You got to make it, different every now and then. I'm going to go with a driver who actually has had 10 consecutive top 10s at Richmond. The last 10 races he has been scored inside the top 10. The winner of Richmond this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go with Kyle Busch. Bias aside, Kyle Busch has had a really solid history at this track, and I think him and RCR are on a roll right now. Last week at Circuit of the Americas, it looked like Kyle Busch would finish 29th, but because they pitted, because they were short on fuel. However, they played a caution came out, and Randall Burnett and the crew played the pit call strategy right, and they stayed out, got track position, and finished second. So far, Kyle Busch has 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 4 top 10s, and currently sits 4th in points. So far, a really solid start to the year for him and RCR. I think that momentum continues, and I think it will end up with a win. So, yeah, Kyle Busch will win at Richmond. I am going to predict that Kyle Busch is going to win at Richmond. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for today's episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. I know it's another one-man show, but hopefully we get a guest on next week. Hopefully it is Adam. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. You guys have a good day.